Do you believe animals can sense danger before we can? Science suggests they might. But what if I told you that one ordinary night, this natural instinct didn't just detect danger, it saved a life? Let me tell you the incredible story of Ethan and his cat, Shadow, and how a bond of love and trust became the difference between life and death.
In a small, peaceful town surrounded by lush green hills lived Ethan, a kind-hearted man with a love for books and stories. While Ethan had many tales to share with the world, his own life was a quiet one, shared only with his loyal companion, Shadow, a sleek black cat with piercing green eyes. Shadow wasn't just a pet, he was family. Every morning, Ethan would wake up to find Shadow curled up on his chest, purring softly. Every night, Shadow would sit by his side, watching the rhythmic tapping of Ethan's fingers on the keyboard as he worked late into the night. Their bond was deep, unspoken, yet stronger than words could express. One fateful winter night, the air was colder than usual, and the house was eerily silent except for the ticking clock. Ethan sat at his desk, hunched over his laptop, surrounded by books and papers. He had been feeling tired all day, but tonight, the fatigue felt different. His head throbbed, his chest felt unusually heavy, and a strange wave of dizziness washed over him. Ethan brushed it off as exhaustion. "I'll finish this last paragraph and then rest," he muttered. But Shadow, who had been lying by the window, suddenly perked up. His green eyes fixated on Ethan, his ears twitched, and his body tensed. Something was wrong. Shadow leapt onto the desk, knocking over a glass of water. The sound startled Ethan, who tried to push the cat away. But before he could, his vision blurred and he collapsed onto the floor. The house fell silent, except for Shadow's frantic meows. The cat ran to Ethan, nudging him with his head and pawing at his face. But Ethan didn't move. Shadow's heart raced. He didn't understand what was happening, but instinct told him he had to act. Shadow sprinted to the door and began scratching it with all his might. His loud, desperate meows echoed through the silent night. Outside, Ethan's neighbor, Mr. Roy, was taking out the trash. He paused, hearing the strange noises. "Shadow?" he muttered, walking toward the door. Through the window, he saw the cat clawing at the door, his tail fluffed up in panic. Mr. Roy's heart sank. Something wasn't right. He banged on the door. "Ethan? Are you okay?" No response. Without hesitation, Mr. Roy forced the door open. Inside, he found Ethan lying unconscious on the floor, with Shadow pacing around him, still meowing urgently. Mr. Roy immediately called for an ambulance. When the paramedics arrived, they quickly stabilized Ethan and rushed him to the hospital. As Ethan regained consciousness hours later, he found himself surrounded by doctors, and a very relieved Shadow sitting on his chest. Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes as he hugged his brave little hero. The doctor smiled and said, "You're lucky to have a cat like Shadow. If he hadn't raised the alarm, we might not have made it in time. He saved your life." Back at home, things were never the same. Ethan now looked at Shadow, not just as a pet, but as his protector, his guardian angel. Every time he stroked Shadow's fur or heard his soft purr, he was reminded of that fateful night and the extraordinary bond they shared. Moral of the story: this story isn't just about a cat saving a life. It's about the science and magic of instinct. Research has shown that animals, with their heightened senses, can detect things like danger, illness, and even changes in our emotional state. Shadow's ability to sense something wrong and take action demonstrates the incredible loyalty and intelligence of animals. This story teaches us not only to cherish our pets, but also to listen to their instincts. It reminds us of the deep connections we share with animals and the life-changing moments that can arise when we nurture that bond.
If you enjoyed this heartwarming story and found its message inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Clue and Story.